In this video, we're going to be looking at the bar method for finding percents. I'm going to begin with a couple of preliminary topics that we need to understand. First, this term percent. Percent literally means per cent, in this case cent being 100. Percent means per 100. For example, 10% can be written as 10 per 100. A fraction is simply a division problem. This bar in the middle is divide. We can read it as per as well. 10% means 10 per 100. Well, this can be reduced by simply dividing both the numerator and the denominator by 10, or canceling one of the zeros. 10 over 100 is the same as 1 over 10. This is 1/10. We can convert that to a decimal by writing it as 0.10. Simply taking the percent where the decimal is currently and moving it 2 to the left, you can convert a percent to a decimal. And we don't need any extra zeros to the right, so 0.10 can be written as 0.1. 10% is 1/10 and can be written as 0.1, also called 1/10. Now, to find 10% of a number, well, that's very easy. We can accomplish it multiple ways. We can multiply it by 1/10. We can multiply it by 0.1. We can divide by 10. All these lead us to one shortcut. To find 10% of a number, move the decimal one place to the left. Examples. %% of number 1. 10% of 70 is, well, currently the decimal is just to the right of the 0. If we move this one place to the left, we get 7. 10% of 70 is 7. If you take 70 and divide by 10, you'd be left with 7. 2. 65. 10% of 65 is, again, imagining that the implied decimal is just to the right of the 5. Moving that one place to the left, we get 6.5. 3. 10% of 4. Well, in this case, the decimal is right here to the right. We move that one place to the left, we get 0.4. Lastly, 10% of 0.2. Well, here's the decimal. If I move it one place to the left, you can imagine there being an empty space there. That empty space we will fill with a 0. 10% of 0.2 is 0.02. One more piece of preliminary information that we will need. When we're dealing with percent problems and we see the word of, the number that follows that is the whole amount, the 100%. For example, so what we're saying here is this. The word of indicates the whole. And by the whole, I mean 100%. Okay? For example, if the problem stated 30% of 70 is blank. Of 70. In this case, they are letting us know that 70% is the whole, and we are seeking the 30% part. So, how will we use the bar method to find this quantity? You're going to draw a rectangle and divide that rectangle up in. There's nothing particularly special about my paper. It's just a single rectangle that I've divided into 10 equal sections. Alright, so we want to answer the question 30% of 70 is what? Well, of indicates the whole. So in this case, 70 is our entire quantity here. Alright, this entire section we are calling 70. This 70 is 100%, the whole thing. Well, if the entire thing is 100%, and there are 10 of them, then each one of our small sections is 10% each, and I'll write that above. 10%, 10%. So our task is going to be to calculate what will go in one of these squares. Well, as we talked about before, we want 10% of 70. Simply move the decimal one place to the left. 10% of 70 is 7. So if 100% is equal to 70, then 10% is 7. I will simply fill 7 in to all of these squares. If the entire thing is 70, each small rectangle is worth 7. But I want 30%. So, how many of these rectangles would be 30%? Well, 3 of them. $10, $20, 30%. So, how much of my entire bar have I shaded? 1, 2, 3 sevens. 3 times 7 is 21. 30% of 70 is 21.